The noise.
The power. Definitely.
The feeling up the back of your spine.
It does move you. It's psychedelic in a sense, you know. It does change you. I think it changes your inner rhythms, definitely, and it stays with you for a long time. It's good stuff.
It rings in your ears for a while, that's for sure. it just kind of happened. It just kind of happened, and we just needed some noise. I mean, you know, I hear that in '92 they're going to make noise illegal here in the EEC. Quaint old Europe is telling us for our own benefit that any noise more than about 100 decibels, whether it's a car, a jackhammer, a gig, a fight, anything, will be illegal. So, like, let's go deaf in the meantime. After that, then we really will go underground. We'll have to go underground. There will be secret deaf people conferences where we'll all play deaf records with a TH as loud as possible, because we're already deaf with an F, just to see if we can still hear them.
Our audience should we want them to experience something extreme. We want them to go out feeling like they've been beaten up.
Deaf.
And, yeah, we'd like them to go out hurting, just go home to recuperate.
And remember it for the next 3 days.
Yeah. There's a lot of discussion about what a nice idea it would be to tear gas people, play at sort of ridiculously low frequencies to make them shit and vomit, and then sort of blind them with sort of incredibly bright flashes, and then let them go home after that.
It wouldn't be very popular.
It's a nice idea, but it'd be very difficult to do, and I think you'd run into trouble with the health and safety people. The first lineup of Sonic Violence was totally different. The bassist had a very unusual sound. He had a low rumble with a lot of treble clang in there and a good snarl in there as well. And he left and moved up north. So I thought the only way I was going to recreate that bass sound was to have 2 basses, but we've gone beyond the original bass sound now. I think there's a lot of bands in the thrash sort of sphere and in the death metal sphere. There's a lot of bands that are playing very, very similar music, and none of them seem to be leaving themselves sort of anywhere to develop out of that. But I think we don't really fit into any category, really. People always have a great deal of difficulty in pigeonholing us. So I think, you know, we can take it anywhere we want. The only thing we want to do is never lighten up what we're doing, always try and make it heavier and more intense. You can't pound people into the floor with guitar solos. When I was younger, it was useful to me to be introduced to lots of ideas that maybe I hadn't seen before during this sort of early punk time. That was very beneficial to me. I learnt a lot from sort of bands like Crass, sort of people like that, sort of discussing things with them at times, and made me think a lot, did me a lot of good, and hopefully we'll be able to pass on the same kind of process to people who come and see us. We've had quite a few skinheads come to see us in Germany, but they all belonged to something called Sharp, which is Skinheads Against Racial Prejudice. And they're all right. They're not your standard sort of Nazi moron skinhead. Life in general is something sort of tedious and a bit wishy-washy, which I think most of sort of existence is. People are just too content to just go and sit down in front of a video, and it's just slow death waiting to die. People should get out and do something with themselves.
I can't explain why it seems to be sort of catching on, but it definitely is, most certainly. There's a, I don't know, perhaps it is just like, perhaps it's punk rearing its ugly head again.
Bolt Thrower, another bunch of Brummies from our Birmingham area, and they were on another label before they actually joined Earache. They put a record out on Vinyl Solution, and that's a London-based record label. That was their first album. And after that, we picked the band up. They've done 2 albums so far, Realm of Chaos and War Master. They're getting really, really popular now, mainly because the imagery they use on the record sleeves is pretty over the top, you know. It's like for the first album we did by them, Realm of Chaos, they used a company called Games Workshop, who are based here in Nottingham. They do fantasy games, you know, that are role-playing games and stuff like that. And Bolt Thrower actually took their name from one of those games. And so, since we're based in Nottingham and the games company were, we got together to get Bolt Thrower's album artwork linked in with one of their biggest selling games. So we used their artwork, and that helped promote the band a lot, you know. They got a big following because of that, I think.
We're at the National Army Museum. That's a Bofors gun. And we're Bolt Thrower.
Definitely Discharge for me, influential, definitely. I mean, there wasn't a better band in my youth for me.
It's what we grew up with. I mean, like me and Baz grew up in the same kind of scene. It was like punk hardcore, wasn't it? Where we and then about, was it 86, Venom and Slayer and Metallica came onto the scene, and you know, it's great.
Not
you know.
unbelievable, wasn't it?
Yeah, so you know, it was when I went and saw Slayer at the Marquee. You know. It was absolutely brilliant, like, you know, sort of that was a real sort of influence for me. That's what, you know, that's what I wanted to do, sort of thing. War is something that is around us today.
It exists.
It's quite interesting, especially the Gulf War. The photos from that on the news was absolutely brilliant, and I don't think it ever will finish because.
It's just something that exists. Yeah. We're here, we don't actually put down war, we don't support it, we don't put it down, it's just something that exists, we sing about and we find interesting. Yeah. It's gone on for centuries and it'll never stop.
They say there's going to be a war to end all wars at a certain time in history. But as soon as that war's gone, people will be back again. There'll be little tribes again, and then it'll just go through a whole process again. I don't think you'll ever stop it.
Never-ending cycle of destruction.
The riffs just seem to come out. You can be playing for hours and hours without coming up with a single idea, and suddenly, like, you just get 3 ideas come up and there's a complete song all in one go. You know, it just works like that. We don't actually say we're going to write a song like now. It'll just happen when I'm at home humming in my head or anything.
For the last 2 albums, we've made 9 songs up to go into the studio, and when we're finished making, you know, recording everything, Baz just usually goes away because he's really in a flow of, you know, making up, playing songs. We just make up another song. The last one on, what was it, on Realm of Chaos was All That Remains, yeah. And on War Master it was Senator, which was a single.
Games Workshop, they're a fantasy role-playing sort of group company. They have produced artwork, magazines, and role-playing games.
You know, they got in touch with us and said, you know, we want you to base an album around one of our games. So we used, you know, Realm of Chaos, which was the best thing they really had, wasn't it?
Our song's going to be, you know, also kind of applied to a lot of the aspects within the Games Workshop fantasy world of, you know, imagination. But more importantly to us, the lyrics are all about the world around us, you know, society that we live in today, destruction, and future worlds, past worlds.
Where did we record the album? Slaughterhouse in Driffield. Slaughterhouse burnt down about 2 weeks after we used it, so, and it wasn't our fault. Satan was not there. We did not raise Beelzebub to bring the downfall of civilization.
List. Not saving this country, it's not worth bloody saving.
These are hippie kids that have like wised up a bit, got angry, got loud, they've got something to say. It's almost unintelligible, so keep coming back until you work it out or read the lyrics.